Germany has issued entry bans for 18 Saudi citizens suspected of involvement in the killing of journalist Jamal Khashoggi in Riyadh's Istanbul consulate. The ban effectively barred them from entering the European Union's passport-free Schengen zone. The government has also urged its arms manufacturers to stop authorized shipments to Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia's King Salman called on the international community to halt Iran's nuclear and ballistic missile program. He also reiterated the kingdom's support for United Nations efforts to end the war by Yemen. Now, in the King's remarks to the Shura Council, a top advisory body to the government, were his first public comments since the murder of Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi, which sparked a global outcry and strained Riyadh's ties with the West. British Foreign Secretary Jeremy Hunt discussed the future of the 2015 nuclear deal, the conflict in Yemen and other issues in meetings with Iranian authorities in Tehran. Hunt said Britain was committed to the nuclear deal and discussed European efforts to maintain nuclear-related sanctions relief. This is Hunt's first visit to Iran as a foreign minister. During his visit, he also called for an immediate release of detained British-Iranian dual nationals. British Prime Minister Theresa May is renewing her efforts to sell her draft Brexit withdrawal agreement, saying it will stop EU migrants jumping the queue. She also said migration will become skills-based, with Europeans no longer prioritized over engineers from Sydney or software developers from Delhi. The British Prime Minister also insisted to business leaders at the CBI that the withdrawal deal had been agreed in full. British opposition Labour Party leader said that the party won't countenance a no-deal Brexit. He demanded that Prime Minister Theresa May's government renegotiated the agreement, which outlines the terms of Britain's departure and future relationship with the EU. The EU is due to hold a summit to discuss the draft Brexit deal on November 25th. 4 people were killed and 2 others critically wounded in a shooting at a Chicago hospital. According to reports, the shooting started in the parking lot. The shooter then burst into the hospital and opened fire. The shooter was among those killed. Police is investigating the motive behind the attack. The legal fight between CNN and the White House has finally ended. The White House has restored the full press access for CNN reporter Jim Acosta. The White House has restored the media credentials of the reporter. But the administration has also warned that he will be ejected again if he fails to abide by new rules being implemented for media events with US President Donald Trump. Firefighters continue their efforts to ensure the area is safe and fully contained as they make progress against the deadly wildfires in California. Across the valley, forensic teams continue their grim search for more bodies. The Camp Fire is now the deadliest in the California's history, as the death toll rises to 77. More than 1,200 people are still unaccounted for.
A burnout operation.
A group of about 800 Central American migrants set out for Tijuana from Mexico in hopes of finding a better accommodation for their group. The migrants took up shelter at the Alpha Omega shelter for migrants. However, not all of them were able to get inside due to the size of the crowd. Caravan participants began to arrive last week in Tijuana on the Mexican side of the U.S. border, which has put a strain on humanitarian shelters where many will wait to seek asylum. Crowds gathered in the streets of Colombo in protest at Sri Lanka's ongoing political crisis after lawmakers submitted a motion to suspend the expenses of disputed Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapakse. Monday's session was adjourned after 5 minutes as the 225-member assembly failed to agree on a committee to draw up the legislature's agenda. The parliament has been adjourned till November 23rd. The police in Australia say they have foiled another terror attack. 3 men were allegedly preparing to attack people in Melbourne have been arrested. The arrests come just 2 weeks after a man was killed in an attack in the city. The 3 men aged 30, 26 and 21 were arrested after they tried to buy a semi-automatic weapon for the attack. All 3 were Australian citizens who were under watch. Syrian government forces captured a southern region from the Islamic State group on Monday after weeks of fighting that left scores dead on both sides. Syrian central military media said that the army retook the rugged Tulul al-Safa region, the last pocket of territory held by extremists in the country's south, despite being mostly defeated in Syria and Iran over the past 2 years. The Islamic State still has hideouts from where they launch attacks. Auto manufacturer Nissan's chairman Carlos Ghosn has been arrested for financial misconduct. Reports say that an internal investigation found that he underreported his income and engaged in other quote-unquote significant misconduct. Reports also suggest Ghosn submitted voluntary to questioning about suspected violations of financial and exchange regulations. Crowds gathered outside the Macedonian parliament in Skopje to protest against the recent decision to change the name to North Macedonia following a deal with Greece. Lawmakers voted last month to approve the name change. Protesters waved the former Macedonian national flag and snugged the national anthem. Greece had blocked Macedonia joining NATO since 2008 because of the country's name, which Athens says implied territorial aspirations towards its own northern province with the same name. French drivers blocked oil depots and disrupted traffic towards the tunnel beneath the English channels. They tried to keep up pressure on President Emmanuel Macron's government to abandon fuel tax hikes. Scattered road blockades have continued since mass protests on Saturday that left 1 protester dead and hundreds injured. Around 20,000 protesters took part in some 350 actions on Monday around France. About 30 people were arrested overnight as police tried to clear out protesters. A car bomb blast killed at least 5 people and wounded 16 others in the Iraqi city of Tikrit. There was no immediate claim of responsibility for the explosion. Islamic State terrorists have switched from controlling territory to insurgency tactics such as bombings and attacks on security forces since their military defeat. Iraq's government said this week that about 2,000 Iraqi Islamic State fighters based across the border in eastern Syria were seeking to come back to Iraq and that security forces were preparing to prevent terrorist invasions. Stormy weather continued to batter Spain's coast. An 83-year-old woman drowned when the banks of a river burst and flooded her home in Lugo. Spain's national weather agency, the AEMET, declared Valencia and Alicante on red alert. Heavy rain began falling on Sunday and huge waves battered the coast of the Canary Islands, destroying buildings as rain levels rose and flooded homes.
llevó el balcón.
India and Russia inaugurated a joint military exercise training Indra 2018 in India's northern Jhansi city aimed at combating insurgency. The drills in the exercise under the banner of the UN aim to emphasize training to enhance team building, house intervention, peacemaking operations and strengthening special tactical operations. The 11-day exercise will see the participation of 250 servicemen from the infantry unit of Russia's Eastern Military District. Hundreds of drivers belonging to the mobile application-based cab service providers Ola and Uber gathered in Mumbai to protest against a low margin of profit on the rides by the companies. The drivers of the ride-hailing giant Uber and its local counterpart Ola chanted slogans demanding higher share in fares to meet rising fuel and maintenance costs that are eating away their incomes. The first snow this winter created breathtaking scenery on the legendary mountains in North China's Shanxi province. Trees on mountains were coated with pure white snow, turning the whole mountains into a wonderland. The holiday season officially has begun at the White House with the delivery of the White House Christmas tree. The tree arrived at the north portico of the White House by jingle bell, adorned horse and a carriage, continuing an annual tradition. President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania received the tree. It will be displayed in the Blue Room during the holiday season. Popular Hollywood star Will Smith participated for running a half marathon in Havana, Cuba. Talking to the press, Smith said, "We are in Havana for my bucket list. On 3 weeks' notice, I am running a half marathon." Around 6,000 runners participated in the Havana Marathon, and runners from the US were predominant among foreign participants.